Wellness tips sa Health Check Plus. Katawan, kagandahan, kagalingan, ating alagaan. Dito lang yan sa Wellness tips sa Health Check Plus.
Nagbabalik ang Health Check Plus. Papasok na ang Chinese New Year at tiyak na pinaghahandaan na ng ating mga kapatid na Chinoy ang kanilang version ng Noche Buena para salubungin ang Year of the Wood Dragon. At kung nagpaplano po tayong maghanda rin para makiisa sa selebrasyon, kasama natin ngayon si Chef Francesca Ciencia para pag-usapan ang healthy eating. Si Chef Chesca ay nag-aral ng Culinary and Catering Management sa Temasek Polytechnic sa Singapore at nagtapos ng Food Business Management Culinary Art sa Culinary Institute of America sa Lion City din. Magandang araw, Chef Chesca. Handa na ba kayo dyan sa Singapore para sa pagdating ng Wood Dragon?
Magandang araw, Teacher Ellie. Lahat po ng mga decorations sa mall talagang ready na sa Chinese New Year. Ready to welcome the Wood Dragon na po.
Chef Chesca, pag-usapan na po natin ang healthy eating at ang inyong experience bilang chef. Kapag healthy eating ang pinag-uusapan, ano-ano po ang ingredients na inyong pinagpipilian para iluto?
Madami po kasing nasanay na kami na madaming variety. Not just in terms of yung ingredients, but also in terms of yung culture. Kasi Singapore is full of different races, religions. So in terms of healthy eating, it really depends on who you're catering to. And when it comes to ingredients, at least in my case and for my family, our household, nasanay na po kaming full of Filipino food with sprinkles of Singaporean food every now and then. So a lot of the times, if we're looking to eat a bit healthier, parang mga soups. So mostly nilaga with extra corn, extra cabbage, and then with the Chinese Singaporeans that I have had the pleasure of meeting, they also share with me their recipes for their home soups then. So parang mga pork ribs, pero they also have some ingredients like red dates, kasi cooling daw sa body. Tapos meron din silang parang, it's not bitter gourd, but it's different kinds of gourds that's supposed to be helpful in terms of many different ways. So whether it's like supposed to brighten up your skin or just to cool down your body, because Singapore is known to be very hot. And that's just some of the ingredients that I managed to get used to here.
Ayan, very interesting yung nasabi niyo, Chef Cheska, no? Kasi tungkol sa culture at religion, talagang kino-consider din ito kung pinag-uusapan ng healthy food. Magkaiba po ba ang inyong lulutuing healthy para sa mga youth, mga adults, at sa mga older persons? Ano po yung take ninyo dito? Kasi nabanggit ninyo kanina tungkol sa iba't ibang culture. What about po sa mga iba't ibang age group naman?
So I think as a chef, sa opinion ko lang po, sa tingin ko, mas madali na i-introduce yung different types of foods, whether it's healthy or unhealthy, with the help of just making it more approachable lang po. So, of course, it helps if it's familiar. So again, with the kids, depending on exactly how young sila, I would like to think that mas madali kung parang pasta or with some kind of carb, kasi that's usually what a lot of kids, regardless of their religion or race, would be more susceptible to. Tapos yung mga teenagers naman, I personally have a brother. 10 years younger siya, so mga 16 pa lang. But for him, I think it's a lot better to start introducing yung mga mas weird na foods. So that's when I try to open up yung mga food groups for him. So that also includes a lot of the different vegetables and fruits that we have in Singapore. Kahit yung mga dragon fruit, na-try ko lang nung nakapunta na ako sa Singapore. And that's when I realized, like, kahit madami tayong prutas sa Pilipinas, there's always gonna be more to explore elsewhere. When it comes to adults naman, that's when I really the ante. So, kung alam ko na kaya nilang matake yung strong flavors, then maybe I'll introduce some spices. Not in terms naman sa heat or anghang, but more of yung mga flavors lang talaga to enhance yung experience nila sa eating. So, that's also when I like to introduce some heartier vegetables na, at least for Filipinos, maybe it's not as familiar, but it's definitely something that you can work on in terms of switching up yung flavor para mas familiar and approachable for everyone, for all ages.
Yeah. Very interesting talaga ano kasi iba yung experience lalong-lalo na sa iba't ibang mga types of food 'no. So, natutuwa ako na ang dami nating nalalaman ngayon kasi may usapan din na, patungkol sa culture, sa religion, pati sa age group 'no, nakakatuwa lang, Chef Chesca. Chef Chesca, kung kayo po ay gagawa ng menu, ano po ang inyong ihahanda for breakfast, lunch, and dinner dito sa Pilipinas? At siyempre merienda na din.
If I were to make a menu, so pinakamadali na I'll base it off of me. So for me as a mid-20s person, obviously working full-time, hindi naman everyone can have the luxury of time. So for me, what I like to do would be something similar to meal prepping. Something that I think mas madali for myself is to prepare juices 1 week in advance. So it'll hold for a few days, pero mauubos ko kasi super yummy. So that's how I get a lot, not say a lot, but at least 3 types of fruits or vegetables in my diet first thing in the morning. So yun po yung breakfast ko. My current favorite ngayon is beetroot, ABC, apple, beetroot, at saka carrot. From there, I get to introduce other fruits or vegetables that I think I would like to eat. Or kung parang masisira na siya later on in the week, that's how I incorporate it. So yung mga grapes, kung mga 3 days na, rather than letting them go to waste, i-juice ko na lang. So that's how I like to take my breakfast kasi I can take it on the go, or if I have the luxury of time, that's when I'll have a sit down, and it's usually with eggs kasi I value protein. I think fiber and protein gets me fuller throughout the day in my case. So by the time that lunch hits, that's when mas sanay na ako with very little or less food to get me through the day. For lunch naman, maybe I'll do noodles kasi yun yung pinakamadali to find in Singapore. And it's very affordable kasi there to have different types of noodles any day, or even just going down to the hawker center to get fried rice. Add egg, please, and some salted egg chicken or pork ribs if I'm feeling like being more indulgent. For dinner, actually, wait, merienda. So for merienda, mga small snacks, yung pinakamadali yata, nuts. Kasi it's healthy fats, but at the same time, it keeps you full, at least in my case. It keeps me full, it keeps me going all the way up until I have dinner, which working in food and beverage industry in Singapore is very tough to keep with a regular dinner schedule. So nuts and dried fruit helps me a lot. By the time that dinner hits, kung na-prep ko na, I would say, alam mo yung gyudon, parang rice lang, plain white rice or whatever rice we have sa bahay, at saka braised meat with, again, any kind of vegetables na parang masisira ulit. Instead of letting it go to waste, I'll just braise it together with the meat in a Japanese dashi broth that's clear. So at the end of the day, what I like to do is like a warm, comforting meal talaga. So in my case, it's probably cabbages, leeks. I recently started adding potatoes kasi not every day naman that I will have rice or will I have the time to cook rice. So in that case, the potatoes help a lot. They cook a little bit faster than, say, a whole pot of rice. And that's pretty much my day.
Nakakatuwa 'no, kasi yung mga sinabing menu ni Chef Chesca ay very doable din siya 'no, lalo na may mga tips din siyang nabanggit. Chef Chesca, nabanggit mo na, pagka breakfast dapat on the go 'no, dito rin sa Pinas talagang kailangan on the go din siguro karamihan sa ating mga nakikinig at nanonood. Sa, mga snacks naman 'no, maganda na very, um relatable na talagang puwede yung mga nuts o mga mani 'no, na puwede rin namang makuha readily dito sa ating, lugar 'no. And sa dinner talagang may rice at karne, kung ano man yung puwedeng baka masisira na, puwede nang iluto talaga 'no, para hindi sayang, nakakatuwa. Um, Chef Chess, kapag-usapan naman natin yung naging experience niyo sa pag-aaral, lalong-lalo na nung nasa culinary school kayo. Nung nag-aaral po kayo ng pagluluto sa Singapore, ano po ang focus ng pag-aaral pagdating sa pagkain?
So pagdating po sa pagkain, Teacher Ellie, I want to say we cover all the bases naman. So from the very beginning, we start from the food system. So saan galing yung pagkain natin? From the farm, or does it have to fly to you? Does it have to go through a boat? Does it have to drive? Parang that's how I put a lot of value in terms of knowing where my food comes from. Yung source at saka location matters a lot to me kasi it'll determine a lot about what you're eating, how much you care about what you're putting into your body, at least in my case. So the food systems matters a lot in terms of also the environment, in case anyone is concerned about that. And I know that people are, especially around my age, were very concerned about those things. So that was nice. On top of that, we also learn yung mga techniques na maybe hindi talaga malalaman unless you're working in the industry na. Kahit yung mga big batch cookery. So sa bahay naman natin, maybe maximum, at least in my case, sa bahay ko, 4 or 5 people at any one time, which is doable for a lot of people kasi pareho lang naman na meal prepping. Instead of meal prepping for a week, then that'll just be enough for maybe 1 to 2 days or 1 to 2 meals. But in school, they definitely focus a lot on yung mga paano kung nasa restaurant ka na, tapos you're serving over 100 people for dinner or lunch. So ganun din yung sinasabi nila sa amin, like pay attention to yung mga portion sizes, yung serving sizes, iba din. Obviously, depending on ano yung restaurant mo, different din yung concept. So iba-iba talaga yung things to consider when looking at yung mga portion sizes. One last thing that I definitely wanna say has impacted the way that I look at things is just because something is healthy does not mean that it's gonna taste bad. So to simplify that, parang good food does not have to be unhealthy. Hindi lang fatty foods yung masarap sa atin. That's why it was nice to learn about other cultures, not just in Singapore, but also in terms of the world. Kasi despite being in Culinary Institute of America, I was able to learn it in the campus of Singapore. Meaning we got to learn about the cuisines of Asia, the Mediterraneans. So being exposed to different cuisines definitely help in terms of broadening our horizons when looking for other flavors or foods to look forward to. So hindi palaging pareho yung ulam or
Ayun.
whatever's in the house.
Parang very nag-e-explore din pala 'no, in terms of food, Chef Chesca. Ngayon naku-curious ako, kung meron kayong itatayong restaurant, ano po ang inyong magiging main offerings?
Teacher Ellie, this is very close to my heart kasi I've spent enough time away from the Philippines and away from home na alam ko if I were ever to put up a restaurant, especially kung overseas pa din, I would still want to offer Filipino food. So I managed to go to Orlando, Florida for part of my internship sa US. And while I was there, I went for a tasting menu at a restaurant called Kaya. And it wasn't even my idea. It was my best friend that I stayed with that initiated this plan to me. Para sa akin naman, when you talk about Filipino food, it's usually just comfort food and very simple. Pero when that restaurant showed me the potential that Filipino food has, not just as a cuisine, but as a fine dining concept, I was blown away. And not to say that I would like to do exactly the same thing, pero sana naman yung focus ko pa din is flavors that remind me of home. And home doesn't necessarily just mean Filipino food. Now home means there's some sprinkling of Singaporean food, a little bit of decadence from my time spent in the States. So definitely some of those three.
Very interesting and sobrang exciting niyan, lalong-lalo na kung i-incorporate ang Filipino cuisine, Chef Chesca. Puwede niyo po ba naming malaman din ang inyong favorite food sa pang-araw-araw at bakit niyo po ito, nagustuhang kainin?
So baka medyong plain, but dragon fruit talaga has a special place in my heart. So dragon fruit yata is one of the first fruits na when I came to Singapore, hindi ko talaga alam kung ano siya. Kasi napaka-weird nung shape niya, though its appearance appealed to me kasi pink siya, bakit? O walang masyadong maraming naturally pink foods and fruits anywhere that I've been to up until that point. So when I tried it, na-shock ako kasi medyo plain yung flavor niya, but when you find a really good one like the yellow or pink variation, that's when I managed to appreciate it talaga. When I came back to the Philippines naman, just last year actually, yung lola ko, nag-pick siya ng dragon fruit from her own garden. Tapos, I tried it and it was yung pink. So talagang favorite ko siya. It's just a fruit, but it's sweet and it reminds me of my experiences. And that's why there will always be some kind of dragon fruit. Not necessarily every day naman, but definitely once a week.
Nakakatuwa yung mga kwento mo, Chef Cheska. Sa pag-close po natin ng interview ngayon, ano naman po ang inyong maipapayo, mga tips para sa ating mga parents tungkol sa healthy eating? Kasi kanina na-share ninyo na hindi kailangang, ano ba, hindi kailangang hindi masarap ang healthy food. Ano pa po, baka po meron pa po kayong ibang tips para sa ating mga parents para mapagpatuloy nila ang paghahanda ng healthy food para sa kanilang mga families and friends?
I want to say, Teacher Ellie, instead of trying to hide the vegetables or fruits in familiar foods, approach it in a different way naman. So really introduce it as what it is and then get the kids involved or even your friends and your family that aren't very used to new things. Kasi once you get them involved, letting them see the natural ingredient, how it comes in its natural form, and how to prepare it, how it ends up tasting. I think ma-appreciate naman lahat natin yung transformation nung kahit anong ingredient once you get them involved.
Ayun. So talagang, hindi lang food, kundi pag-i-involve din ang ating mga family members sa food preparation. Maraming salamat, Chef Chesca. Sana magkaroon ng pagkakataong matikman ng mga Pilipino ang inyong mga niluluto. Thank you very much po for joining our session ngayong hapon.
Thank you, Teacher Ellie, and magandang araw, everyone.
At diyan nagtatapos ang Health Check Plus. Samahan niyo po kaming muli sa susunod na linggo. Tandaan, ating pangalagaan ang ating kalusugan sapagkat ang kalusugan ay ating kayamanan. At huwag kalimutang batiin araw-araw ang ating minamahal. Be kind, be safe, and stay healthy. Mapapanood din po ang ating programa at mga nakaraang episode sa YouTube channel ng Health Check Plus sa www.youtube.com/c/healthcheckplusph. Ang Health Check Plus ay production ng Vital PH Science Incorporated kasama ang Manila Broadcasting Corporation.